Good evening, everyone. I'm Gavin Nelson, Club and Community Development Officer at the Irish FA. I hope you're all safe and well. Welcome to tonight's Ahead of the Game webinar. Ahead of the Game, sponsored by City Auction Group, is the Irish FA's mental health programme for football clubs. The programme is also a part of the UEFA Hat-Trick funding for football and social responsibility. The programme was developed in partnership with TAMI, Inspire and Train to be Smart Soccer. We also work in partnership with Sports Chaplaincy UK. Normally, our Ahead of the Game workshops are delivered face-to-face. However, we've adapted it for delivery via webinar tonight. We will be recording the session so that we can share it with other clubs and volunteers later from your club too. Before I hand you over to Joe Donnelly, our lead tutor for Ahead of the Game, just a few housekeeping notes. If you could keep your microphone and camera muted during the session, please. I ended up having to cut my own hair last week, so it's probably a good thing that I'll have my camera off for quite a bit of it tonight. There will also be some interactive tasks, and if you do feel like getting involved, feel free to come on and unmute your camera and your microphone during those. If you want to put any questions into the chat box during the webinar, we'll try and ask them, but we'll also have a question and answer session too at the end of the Ahead of the Game webinar. And thanks very much for attending. Joe, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Gavin. Guys, first and foremost, allow me to say hello, and I hope you are all keeping well and keeping safe during these challenging times. My background is I run an organisation called TAMI, Tackling Awareness of Mental Health Issues. It's named after my friend Tommy Tucker McLaughlin, who died by suicide in 2009. I work with sport clubs around helping them raise awareness of mental health and emotional well-being, because I believe strongly that sport clubs are the best environment to do so. For the simple reason is we have an engaged audience, people listen to us, and people respect us. I am a coach. I coach in schools. I did have a wee team that I took up until under 14, and when they won the league, all the players got stolen, but that's another story for now. But I've been involved in coaching, I've been involved in clubs, I understand how clubs tick, and I do believe, as someone that's played and someone that's coached, my coaches made a massive difference in me, and I know as a coach I've made a massive difference in other people's lives. So we normally start with a wee video, but we're going to start with just words from Keith Gillespie. Don't try and suffer everything alone, whether it be family or friends. The most important thing is to speak to somebody and seek that help. Keith Gillespie played at the top of his game. He played for Manchester United and he played for Newcastle. But Keith Gillespie had a terrible gambling addiction. He made over £7 million. Now imagine having £7 million. So I mean, imagine having £700 at the minute. £7 million he had, and he lost it all. He went bankrupt. He started gambling when he was young. He was down to the bookies, and it took over his life. And he had a family, and he tells a story which can be accessed through the IFA website of how, until he reached out and asked for help and support, he wasn't able to deal with the problem. Thankfully now he's in a better place because he's reached out and got that help and support. And he says something at the very end where he wants Ahead of the Game to be the start of a conversation, and that's exactly what this is. This is introduction level. This is about clubs starting their journey, because whenever I started doing mental health stuff around the loss of my friend, was focused on the suicide. It was the very top level stuff. It's the crisis intervention, the dealing with someone that's going through a really, really bad time there and then, but it ignored the early stages, the development stages, the stages that 9 times out of 10 a situation builds up over time. And we as clubs can do our bit within the sport environment to connect with an audience. What is mental health? What affects mental health? Signs to look out for, and promoting positive mental health, and ultimately how to use the toolkit. Gavin has informed me that he will email every club a copy of the toolkit. We have also created a bespoke COVID-19 focus toolkit too. We've reacted in the right way. Now I want you all to think, and this is the first sort of wee task before the best bit that I enjoy most of in the program, is I want you to think about your club, okay? I want you to think about the membership of your club. Now, Gavin informed me that there's roughly 45 groups here represented tonight. So I always have to get a calculator because I'm horrendous at maths. 1 in 5 of your members, and that is adults and kids in Northern Ireland, could be affected by mental health. So if there's 45 groups, roughly with 100 members, that's 4,500 members that you guys serve. So we get our calculator out. Normally I would go around the room and ask you to give me your membership, but we can't do that at the moment. So 4,500, and we divide that by 5. 900. There's potentially 900 people within the clubs that have signed up for this program that potentially need help and support. And we can all do our bit, be it a club that simply raises awareness and signposts, to a club that runs really practical hands-on programs. Doing something positive is doing something well. So we move on to our first task, and I'm just conscious of all our design people here. The chances are you're going to be like me. You've got a black pen, so we're going to have a lot of Juventus kits here. The first task is, I'll ask you the question, what does mental health mean to you? Okay, I'm going to give you 5-minute max, and I will time it.
My name's Mark Topley, and I'm from Portadown Youth. I'm a coach. I don't know if you can see it here, but in terms of the sketching, it's not great. It'd be a bit like Joe's there. But what I've got on this, I've got on one sleeve of the shirt the Pips logo. I've also got a statement at the bottom. It's good to talk. There is a group that Al Brady runs on Facebook. It's good to talk, and I think it's a very useful group. I've got the smiley face that Joe's already touched on. I've got the brain where we're thinking about what we're going to talk about as well. And up at the top of the shirt on the sleeve, just a bit what Joe was saying there now, getting kids out to participate in sport, training nights, and playing games on a Saturday, whatever it is, it definitely helps for mental health. And in terms of mental health, I've had a brother-in-law of mine, as the same thing happened to him as well as what Joe touched on earlier on with his friend. So it's something very close to my heart as well.
Poor mental health. Normally I ask in the room for a show of hands of how many people have had poor mental health. And you'd be surprised how many people don't put their hands up. And then I ask the question, how many people have been affected by death? Everybody puts their hand up, because poor mental health, when we're struggling to cope with everyday pressures of life and certain situations feel uncontrollable and we're not functioning well. We can all take an action in life. We all do take an action in life. Death is probably the most extreme one, but when we lose someone we love for a period of time, we do not function as we would normally function. We go through the grieving process, and we will all go through that. We will all take knocks. Something as simple as your car breaking. I seem to buy cars that constantly break, so therefore I'm constantly having to feel a bit down and run about trying to get my cars fixed. But if you buy cheap, you buy it twice. But that's another story. But what I'm getting at is we will all encounter things that have a positive impact on our mental health and a negative impact. But where we all get mixed up and where we fall into a trap is depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, OCD, etc. They're not mental health. They are mental illness. Our job is to challenge the stigma, to tell people that mental health is a positive thing. We've all got it. In a nutshell, the big wordy explanation, it's the health of your mind. It's there. It's not going anywhere. It's the same as your physical health, the health of your body. We need to look after it. We need to nurture it. And we will go through periods of up and down. And the key is, when you're going through a wee problem, if we can talk about it when it's a wee problem, then we can deal with it better before it escalates into a big problem. Mental illness is diagnosed, and that's the key difference. And the person that has to diagnose you is a doctor or a specialist. It's not Ask Jeeves or Google, because a lot of people are, oh, I feel this, and all of a sudden pops up on the screen, you're depressed, and just diagnose themselves on a computer. No. If you're feeling low, persistent low mood and sadness is depression, the most common one. If you're feeling low and feeling down and you're not functioning well, and it lasts longer than a period of 2 to 3 weeks, that's not, I'm not telling you it's depression. It could be. You need to go and speak to someone in a professional capacity about it, that you're not functioning well, you need a bit of help, you need a bit of support, and start the process there. If you're going through a difficult time, you're struggling with, for example, loss of a loved one, the family network will support each other to get through that. If you are struggling with exam stress, if you're a young person or you've got a young person struggling with exam stress, you can support them through that. They will be going through a period of probably anxiety, stress, and that's poor mental health. They're symptoms of the way they're feeling because of a certain situation which they have no real control of. You have to do exams, unfortunately, and different people react different ways to them. So, window to the world. Now, I'm going to give you, again, this is another task, but I'm only going to give you a minute. I want you to use the next 2 minutes, and I want you to write down 2 things that you see in your window to the world in football that either positively or negatively impact on your emotional well-being.
We've got 1 volunteer so far. Thanks, Nathan. Nathan, do you want to unmute your camera and microphone?
I did one from a coaching aspect and then one from a playing aspect. So from a coaching aspect, it's just seeing the kids enjoying themselves. You can remember back to whenever you were younger, it's probably training 2 nights a week was the 2 best nights of the week, bar the weekend maybe. And then from playing football myself, I would say the social aspect of it, because I have a lot of friends that kind of maybe dropped out of playing football just because they can't be bothered. They're getting a bit old now, they just want to go drink or something on a Saturday. But like, I like playing football because it's the crack in the club afterwards, stuff like that. And then for negative, I only actually thought of one, but sometimes when you're coaching, parents can be a wee bit tough when they think you're against them, or they're asking questions, oh, why is my son not playing? And I think there's some kind of other agenda there, but it's not really like that. And like, I'm really there just to do my best, whereas they mightn't see that.
Cheers, Mark, if you want to come on again.
Yes, Gavin. The first point really I have is from a coaching point of view, bonding with the players and other coaches as well. It's great to see the kids progressing year on year, and one thing I enjoy is bumping into other coaches along the way, because the vast majority of them are all good people trying to do the right thing for the kids. On a negative, wee bit like what Nathan touched on there, sometimes the thing that bothers me the most is the pressure that's put on the kids. And in my opinion, it really doesn't help. There's a lot of good ads there on YouTube and stuff with Ray Winston and different things there. And I think a lot of my parents are okay, but some of the parents, when you're standing there coaching on the line, you can just say to yourself, this doesn't help. That's my positive and negative. Patricia's
volunteered. Thanks, Patricia. If you want to come on screen.
I'm a parent, but I also do some fundraising for a football club. So my 2 happy points are the social aspect. So being part of a football community, a football family with parents and friends. And the other happy one was smiling the kids' faces. So whenever you're watching your children play football and they're just running around doing exactly what they want to do, and the smile on their faces is priceless, and the teamwork and the camaraderie amongst them, it's just something very special. And then my 2 sad points, or unfortunate points, were coming from the fundraising and the events side of the football club. It's the same faces, so sometimes it's very difficult to involve other people in things and trying to get people involved in your initiatives. And like what one of the previous people have said, the negative reaction of parents. So when you're standing at the sidelines watching your kids play and you're listening to parents complaining and moaning about the coaching, about the other team, about the other players, and if I hark back to what I said about the smile on the kids' faces as a positive, that detracts from it, because those parents can be very negative towards those kids, and it just seems to be a bit unfair sometimes.
Patricia hit the nail on the head about the same faces. We all have a role to play. We all have a role to play to create that window of the world for the players that we serve. Now, the reason why I say that is very simple. If you think about the approach to mental health and emotional well-being, what people are trying to say is that every club should have a mental health officer. Okay. Now, I was involved with a club for years, and I do a wee bit with another club now. It would always be the same faces. So it'll be another role for, yep, Jamesy, you're the mental health officer in the club, is that okay? Yep, box tick. Unfortunately, that's not the way it should be. If you think of the fact that you have, 15 players, those 15 players are interacting with you 2 nights a week on a match on a Saturday. And more recently, they're probably interacting with you through Zoom and staying connected with you. You know those 15 players. You know their behaviours, their attitudes, and you know what to look out for. So having a mental health officer at the very top who is probably one of the same faces that do everything else, which is a bolt-on role, is not going to work. What does work is if we all, as a collective, look out for the players that we serve, and we have a structure within a club where we can communicate up. So I have 15 players. I know all my kids. I know their backgrounds. I know their history because you've bonded with them. You've developed a real positive relationship with them over the duration of a number of years. I know if a behaviour change. I know roughly on the grapevine what's going on in the background. It's putting the mechanisms in place for us to pick up on signs, to pick up on things around the mental health and emotional well-being, and have a channel of support within the club. There could be an officer who we ultimately report to, but we can't just say, you're responsible for mental health, you're responsible for my 15 kids. No, I'm responsible for my 15 kids. Your coaches are responsible for your 15 kids, and a club is responsible for every kid within the club and every adult within the club, because this isn't just for kids. Pressure from parents, believe it or not, whenever we've delivered this across Northern Ireland, over like 60, 70 groups, and that would be a constant thing that pops up. Parents, not all parents, because there's some absolutely amazing parents. I think I'm an amazing parent coach, but that's just me. I understand and appreciate that there's volunteers giving up time for my daughter, and why should I stand and criticise on the other side of a fence when I can cross the lane and do something? And the reality is the vast majority of people that stand on the other side of the fence and criticise don't cross the lane, don't volunteer. Patricia alluded to the fact it's the same faces. You don't have to be a football coach to help a club. If you have a skill set you can give, you can help with fundraising, you can help with volunteering, you can help with organising events and programmes, because clubs need income, clubs need funds, kids need kits, subsidies. It makes a massive difference. I work in predominantly North Belfast. A lot of kids are from backgrounds where there's a lot of poverty. So the more efforts made to basically make that the wee Adidas kit, for example, that gets reduced, that makes a massive difference. It even makes a difference to well-being, because people feel connected, feel branded, but they haven't paid 50, 60 quid and their mummies and daddies are struggling to basically pay that because the clubs put the effort in. So we need to get more of that. Bumping in the coaches, Mark, I wouldn't mind bumping into you, sir, because call me off this here. You've been absolutely brilliant. You've made 2 really valuable contributions, and I'd be delighted to basically have a chat with you afterwards to support your club. I'll offer that to everybody, but Mark, thank you very much for your contribution. And Nathan, yes, the most important thing of any club I've always felt is the social, being part of something, getting the wee tap to put on 2 nights a week, and they go to the social events and programmes afterwards. The next section we're going to look at is signs to look out for, and we use an acronym, sport. So sport, awareness. For 2 weeks or longer, does something not seem right? And why we say 2 weeks is because we've all had bad weeks. We've all been busy during certain weeks. We all go on holiday. We can all get ill and take a week off. And that's perfectly fine and perfectly acceptable and perfectly normal. But after 2 weeks, if we're not sort of engaging or something doesn't seem right, then something persistently is over us, which is preventing us taking part and enjoying the sport that we love. So we're looking out for S, social isolation. What it looks like is you're physically not there, you're not coming to training, you're not coming to matches. And if we have players or participants not doing that, we need to put a phone call in and ask them why you're not there, or from the parents. We also have players who are there physically, but they're completely distant. They're isolating themselves, they're excluding themselves from the group, they're looking lonely, and this would manifest itself. For example, someone scores a goal, they don't celebrate. Why are they not getting engaged? Something is clearly on their mind. Physical health, P. What are we looking at here? We're looking at players who are either tired, run down, weight gain, weight loss, adult game, scruffy, bags under eyes. We can tell that their effort is then affected, so they're not giving 100%. They look lethargic. And again, it should prompt us to ask the question, are you okay? Obvious changes is self-explanatory. Are players sad, moody, on edge, restless? Again, we'll be able to pick that up relatively quick, and don't feel uncomfortable asking the question, are you okay? I've noticed X, Y, and Z. Reacting the wrong way, we all know what that looks like in football. Lashing out, completely unacceptable. Dirty tackles, going on the field of play, not with the focus of enjoying the sport that they love, but on the focus of injuring and causing hurt to others. That is completely wrong, but behind that bad behaviour, there's a reason. And if there is disciplinary procedures, part of it should basically be based around why did that indiscipline happen. Tough times. Every single person watching this or involved in sport will go through tough times. Be it a young person going through their exam, the pressure associated with it. Be it a young person trying to make it at the top of the game, the pressure associated with it. Or the most common tough time that we all go through is the loss of a loved one. When we know there's tough times, I believe that sport clubs are absolutely outstanding vehicles for supporting people through them. And we need to basically be aware and keep our ear to the ground about the tough times that potentially our players, participants, or members of our club are going through, and to wrap the club support arm around them to get them through those difficult, challenging times. There are some things we can't control. If someone's going through a tough time because of a relationship breakup, the clubs can basically be there and as a sounding ear to let people get stuff off their chest, but unfortunately we can't mend relationships, etc. So what do we do when we know someone is going through tough times, or is socially isolating, or the physical health deteriorating, or there's obvious changes, or they're reacting the wrong way in the sport background? We should always talk to people. Talk. Are you okay? 9 times out of 10, based on my experience, you're going to get hit with, I'm fine. You then let them know that you've noticed a few things and you care and you're there. It lets them know that you're ready to listen. When it comes to adults, you can 100% take them to the side and have a cup of tea and a chat and say, remain behind after training, or come and tell me in private at another time. Unfortunately, when it comes to the kids, you must try and get them in that environment. So at the side of the pitch, in an open space where everybody can see us, but you're having a quick conversation about what's on their mind. And if you have them 2 nights a week and you notice on the Monday things aren't 100%, then on the Wednesday, the next training session, sort of ask the question. Inform your co-coach, because most clubs have 2 coaches per team. Inform your designated officer and child protection officer. If you are the child protection officer, inform a committee member and a designated officer, and let them know that you've identified a couple of things you're worried about potentially, and you want to address them, so everybody sort of knows that you're working for the best for that child, and you must follow your child protection procedures. When it comes to boundaries, very, very simple. We can't control crime, we can't control loss of job and no job, we can't control exams, we can't control bullying issues, unless we're coaches bullying, which is unacceptable. We can't control death, we can't control relationship breakdown, poverty, gambling, or alcohol consumption. We can't control the lives of others, we can only control the lives of ourselves. And back to our sport, we need to look out for ourselves too. If we notice any of those signs in ourselves, we need to ask for help and support. But as human beings, regardless of being coaches, every single person going through a difficult time, we can talk to them. We can support them and be there for them. We can listen to them. Listening is the most important skill. It's okay to talk, but if you're not ready to listen, it's pointless talking. Support them to access relevant services if need be. Keep them safe until professional intervention is needed. Do your best by them, and give advice and information, again, from credible services. Understand that when there's an issue, it may just be that someone needs to talk to you and get it off their chest so it doesn't eat them up inside. It may not be serious, it may not lead to them having thoughts of life not worth living. It may just be something that's troubling them, like exams. They're stressed about exams, and they're overwhelmed and they want to get off their chest. 100%. It may be something serious, and if it is something serious, be in a position to signpost to the professional services that are available. Because if we do that, we're doing our best by everybody. We're giving the listening ear, we're giving the help and support from credible sources, we're signposting up a pathway if need be, or we're just basically being there to let them get something off their chest, which if they do, it won't eat them up inside anymore and make them feel better. What we look at is the IFF created this fantastic resource about how to look after your mental health during COVID-19. So connect with people. I'm sure everybody's flat out on Zoom and sending people sort of quizzes and playing bingo and stuff like that. It's good crack, it's good banter, and it keeps you connected with people that you love. Keep routine. The worst thing I done for the first week was went to bed late and get out of bed late. It's a waste of a day. Get out of bed like normal. Treat each day like it's a school day. It's a 9 to 5. Be creative. If anybody has kids, and I know all the clubs are doing the wee sort of create your NHS thank you badges and stuff and create kits. I think that's absolutely fantastic to see. It shows clubs using alternative methods for engagement. Relax. It's very, very important that during the day or night that you take a bit of time for yourself. Take 5 Steps for Wellbeing is the Public Health Agency's positive mental health campaign. Okay, so take notice in the PHA is about the world around us. Okay, so the trees, the sky. For me, it's about take notice of the positive impact your club has on your community. So take 5 Steps for Wellbeing. We will and we do champion that within groups, and I really do think it is something that every club should take on board because you already do it. And it's just a case of saying, well, here's what we do around each of these blocks. Here's what we can do better, and here's where we would like to go with it. And the best time to do it is here. So Mental Health Awareness Week is the 2nd, 3rd week of May. It changes from year to year, and it's this week. So this week, give out information. So loads of clubs that I'm working with now are sharing mental health information on Facebook, and it's reaching all their membership, all their followers, and again, back to 4,500 of 45 groups had 100 members each. 900 people potentially within those groups could get that information and find it useful. So don't underestimate the fact that simply by signposting and awareness raising, you're doing a good thing. For any ladies teams, Women's Health Week tends to be the 3rd, 4th week in May. Again, do something focused on female well-being. Men's Health Week, 2nd, 3rd week in June. Do something focused on men's health, not necessarily their mental health. You could do stuff around testicular cancer, prostate cancer. You could bring something in around sort of men's health and well-being. Summer, unfortunately, we're not going to get summer this year. Dedicated gamer competition and raise money for local mental health charity. I always advocate support local. Okay, I'm North Belfast, so if anybody's North Belfast, hello, come and see us. But if you're based up in Skillen, if you're based down in Newry, find a local mental health group, phone them, explain what your club's all about, ask them do they want to send some information, do they want to come down and connect and talk, do a quick talk or training, introduce themselves. Have a person at the end of the phone. What is it? Mark had put Pip's logo on one of his taps. It's a massive difference. I don't phone Pips. I phone Daisy. I phone Joe. I know a person in them. And if you know a person in them, it makes that conversation with them so much easier. And if you're trying to help someone that needs a bit of help and support, if you know your local mental health charity, you know people in it, you phone them and then they phone back and say, tell such and such, tell wee Jimmy to phone Susan. And it's not tell Jimmy to phone this number and hopefully someone speaks to him. You've made the connection, you've passed into a person, human to human, makes a massive, massive difference. World Suicide Awareness Day is the 10th of September every year. World Mental Health Day is the 10th of October every year. So I advocate and support clubs to do campaigns and programs around those dates because they're focal points. So don't do mental health every single week, because if you did, you'll scare people off, you'll put people off. Take the world calendar, the world gives you, follow it, and that is how you will make mental health become normalized within your club. Because what tends to happen is a group may take part in a course, then what happens is after the course is complete, nothing ever happens again. But if you reinforce it during these key dates, you will make a difference to people's lives. When to promote it, before or after training, give out a fact sheet and talk through it. Dedicate a match to the local mental health group. We can't do it at the moment, but down the line, yes. Promote positive mental health and messages and support services on social media. Really easy to do. Again, I'll put it back out there. I will make resources and give you resources. The toolkit will give you resources. Get them out to people. You don't know who needs them. You are helping people by doing it. And understand when it comes to positive mental health, you are champions of Take 5 Steps for Wellbeing. You do it well. You're the best at it, I would say. You make every single element come to life and build on it. So if someone says, what do you do around mental health and wellbeing? Most clubs will say nothing. You guys start to say, well, we do Take 5 Steps for Wellbeing. We do it really well. And here's how we would like to build on it. And all of a sudden, it'll open up opportunities, for example, for funding, because people may not fund football, but they might fund a health-based program that engages 400 people. That just happens to use football. And people can't really argue against that because you're giving your membership numbers. So your 400 people are going to benefit from a mental health initiative that has to give football as the hook. Mental health's the message. You have a better chance of getting some funding and support. What the toolkit gives you is an action plan. So it is really, really simple. I have an action plan here of what you can do when you leave. You can go back to your club, have the conversation with 4 or 5 people. I recommend set up a wellbeing committee and tell them that what you want to do is you want to start to look at mental health within your club. Pass a mental health policy. It's not a you must do X, Y, and Z. It's a simple policy that says you will not tolerate discrimination and you will create a safe environment for people. It could almost be bolted into your safeguarding policy. It's that simple. Contact your local mental health group. Again, don't underestimate the impact and value of having a contact within a local organisation, because if someone needs help and support, you can phone that person. That person can then connect you with help and support. It creates a lovely pathway of support. So phone the local mental health organisation and say, do you want to get involved with us? In return, that's who you fundraise for, local mental health group. Other things include social media, distribute information. Again, very, very easy to do. Deliver a mental health coach talk to coaches, easy enough to do. The next level of training would be mental health first aid, which is 2 full days or 4 nights. Safe talks 3 hours, which is suicide prevention, and then assist is 2 full days or 4 nights. So there's a pathway which will communicate, tell you about additional training to help build on this. Like I said, this is introductory level. So we talk about the pathway of support within clubs. So if you have 2 or 3 people responsible for mental health, like a wellbeing committee, all your coaches are aware of what signs to look out for and flag things up to the committee. And the committee need a bit of help and support, they can contact sports chaplaincy or other mental health agencies and get a bit of guidance and a bit of support to help them inadvertently get the person who needs help the help that they need. So sports chaplaincy is a service that we would advocate and support. Also, these are our 24-hour helpline numbers. We've got the Smartins, who are excellent. I went down and spent a day with them. If people just need to get stuff off their chest, really, really brilliant organisation to talk to. Lifeline is our public health agency service, 24-hour helpline for people who are in crisis or suffering from suicidal ideation. Also, if someone that you know or care about won't phone them and you're in a situation where they are threatening to end their own life, then you can phone Lifeline and someone will say this, don't say that, and they'll put the call into the services to come and de-escalate. Helplines Network NI, you plug in your postcode and it will tell you services within your locality, which is really, really useful. So plug in your postcode and contact services to see if you can connect in and add value to what you do. Childlines are 24-hour child support number. mindinyourhead.com or .info is information around a wide variety of mental health services and support. There's also, what you haven't put on yet, is the Sport and I have teamed up with Inspire for the Amazing Wellbeing Hub. I think it's an absolutely phenomenal resource and a phenomenal tool, and we recommend that any group contact Sport and I and get involved with it, because it will help you build on this. It'll help you get access to resources to start to roll out within your club and to bring to life. That concludes me.
Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gents. It's been brilliant, and thanks for your input during this, what is our first webinar that we've done tonight. So it's been a learning curve for us too. So thank you very much for being a part of the first one, and good night, everyone.